Yeah, to all my followers, you're most welcome to my favorite YouTube channel. This is me, Vasco, and I'm really so grateful to welcome you back to my videos. I'm happy to see you in today's video. In today's video, we're going to be looking at one of the great lessons that you will actually enjoy in your life. And today, we are going to be looking at uh, secondary sources of information. So in the secondary source of information, this is actually what we're going to look at. Yeah. So this is what we're going to look at in secondary sources of information. Um, we are going first of all to look at the definition of the secondary source of information. Then we go for the examples of secondary, okay, examples of sources of the sources that are for secondary information that give secondary information. Then we look at the characteristics of secondary information. We go to look at the advantages and disadvantages. And then there we move direct to the reliabilities where we find the advantage, where we find the advantage and what and the challenges of primary, okay, of secondary sources. So looking at the definition as being our number one thing, secondary sources, let me say, it's referred to as being interpreted, uh, being analyzed, and being summarized from the primary sources, meaning secondary sources. This is a type of sources where it requires the interpretations of the primary event that has occurred and the analyzation of the primary events that has taken place so that they are summarized and to give out an information. Meaning here the sources, the information is not direct from the event or from the time where the event it is occurring, but these are people who collect information from secondary sources. They analyze, they interpret, and they summarize the information, and then they put it into written, which is that is a simple. That's how simple I can explain. It's secondary resources, and then looking into their characteristics, and looking at the examples. Example number one of secondary sources, we have the books, normally the historical books, those that are talking about the world war that has occurred, become World War One, World War Two, World War Three. You know, of those who have written them, they have not been okay. They have not been taking part in it, but they have to what to interpret and analyze the information, the event that has occurred long time ago. Then we have also biographies that talks about individuals, how life background is. So that's one of the example books. The number two is journal articles. We have research paper analyzing the results of specific experiments. Remember, let me say, there are experiments that have been made by scientists long time ago, but it finds someone may be able to carry out a research about it, and he may be able to write a good book that actually someone may be getting it back for him. He get it from the primary sources, but for us who may be reading that book, we will be getting it from what? From the secondary sources, because let me say, we are not witnessing how the thing has been carried out, but we are getting it from someone who has what witnessed. And then there we have also literatures that review, summarize, and previous research topics. Of course, there's also topics of research that have been taken a long time ago, and literate people, literatures people those who write books normally, they summarize it and put them in written essays and many other forms. And then next is documentaries. For documentary, will look like examples of videos and films that tell the stories of the historical event. Taking an example like if most of you, I think, have watched EW videos, you find all that will summarize the event that has occurred long time ago. So we who are watching it, that will become a scholarly source to us because we are not watching at the exact event, but it is someone who has recorded all those, and then he will be able to keep the records, and we are able to be getting it. And then the next, the other one, it's essays and reviews that provide analysis of literature work or historical those essays being written, and some of the reviews that normally we can find some sources being written, it talks about events that has occurred. So all those are the examples of secondary sources. Next is we're looking at the characteristics of secondary sources of uh, information. Number one characteristic is that secondary source information require interpretation, meaning since the information is not direct from the event that has occurred, you who is actually reading, you need to read and interpret how this information is all about. You read with interpretation, it requires interpretation. Then the next thing, it's actually require evaluation. You need to read and then interpret and evaluate, looking for the clarity and looking for the accuracy and the quality of the information you're looking for. And then it also involves summary. Normally, it says you may not get the information from one source, you may be getting it from various sources. But out of all those sources, out of all those books, the rest of the thing you've read, you need to bring out a summary so that you come with what one good information. And then it also requires, it's also, it is contextual, meaning it provides a framework for the primary sources, which actually, let me say, you are providing the necessary content of the primary data, which is also wide understanding of the person of the people who will be reading the information of reading the primary information that has the event that has taken place. And then there we move into looking at the advantages, some of the advantages of primary of secondary information. So the example, advantage number one of secondary information is that we look into the side of history. It says it normally provides historians with a critical analysis and interpretation of the historical event. Yeah, of course, to give historians to really critically, the important word is critically analyze things and critical interpreting, so that they may be able to come out with let me say rightful information, clear and what and accurate information. So that's one of the modern of the secondary sources. And secondly, they have inside of literature, they have writers to critical write essays, to write critical essays, book reviews, and literature analysis to gain insight into the various interpretation and quantities of the literature work. Of course, they have them so that they be able to come out with what are with a clear essays and clear books that they may be writing, so that it may help the reader to be able to analyze and interpret what the information and the clarity of the information that he wants may be what trying to search. And then next, in the science field, it helps to review articles, texts, and scientific journals that interpret primary research research finding. Of course, this one here, secondary sources help because normally secondary sources it's where let me say once you may be reading a book and you may find some scientific information about some of the findings that have been made a long time ago. This one will give you what will give you this let's say a strength to actually to deep more to find the real okay to find the actually to find the real find the reality and help you to what to find to let me say prove whether the things that have been written is actual it is true. So that is in further of science. Then there this take us to the disadvantages of secondary sources of information. Number one of the disadvantage is that secondary source of information it may introduce misinterpretation and bias. To take an example like a primary source records primary someone getting a purpose of primary source. I take example like he may be recording it. Then you may find when he made mistakes in his recordings, you may find that the information that he will be giving out will be misinterpreted and it will lack some of the thing, and the person may just try to assume some of the thing that may what misinterpret the exact information, and also it create bias. Like For example, maybe reading an article, maybe reading a book. When you find that book actually will be talking ill about you, and that one actually gives you to lose morale. What in reading such article. Then next is that it lacks down immediacy and atonacity of the primary source, meaning it is not immediate. It is not immediate, and it is not immediate and direct into what into the event that has occurred. And actually, it lacks the let me say the clarity, and it lacks the accuracy of the information. The information may not be accurate to related to the primary sources or to the event that has occurred. Then finally, we look at the reliabilities of secondary sources, and they're looking at the strengths of secondary sources. And number one strength is that it offer interpretations which enhance what are clarifications clarification of the primary event, which is one of the greatest things that it helps you to interpret and actually we come out with what with a clear information about the primary event. And then secondly, its challenge is that it is it's one step removed from the original. Here, take example of misinterpretation of that primary sources. You may find that there will be something that are supposed to be there, but due to the misinterpretation, then the information may not be accurate, and you may find that some of the original things that are supposed to be in the original event may not be there. So, thank you, my dear friends, for your great time that you've been spending with me. And I appreciate your patience, I appreciate your love, and appreciate your efforts in everything, in all comments you'll be sharing. And I also remind you to keep on commenting, keep on telling others to subscribe, and keep on referring my message, my links to various people. So thank you. I'll be meeting you in my next lesson. Thank you. We meet there.